set to take center stage in the first of our 5 games today. And First Take will take you right up to tip-off. And here he is, Stephen A. Smith, getting ready to go. Merry Christmas, my friends. Great to see you.
Merry Christmas, buddy.
Let me start, though, with something that has been less than the best story in the NBA this past week, and that is the James Harden situation. Because as we get this season underway, it feels to me like the most important thing remains: when is James Harden going to get traded and where? So what is your sense after the fine and the suspension and everything else of where things stand right now with the possibility of Harden getting moved?
Well, I think that we have to take into consideration what James Harden is trying to do here. The fact of the matter is he wants out of Houston, plain and simple. He no longer wants to be a Houston Rocket. That's really what this comes down to. And from the moment that he alerted them that he would like to be moved to Brooklyn, obviously the initial reaction was, hell no, we're not letting go of a guy that's averaged over 30 the last 3 years, one of the most prolific scorers this game has ever seen. But evidently they entertain phone calls and things of that nature, and they're not hearing the kind of offers that they want to hear. I'm sure that they've alerted James Harden about that, and as a result has given him the impression that obviously we're not going to let you go for close to nothing. We want equitable compensation. And since that's not being offered, in other words, they're saying to him, you're going to be stuck here. James Harden, in response, in my opinion, has just basically gone about the business of doing whatever he can to alert the world that he wants out. James Harden is a professional. Yeah, you've heard the reports about the tardiness and things of that nature. Let's take into consideration the fact that the man never engages in load management. He's always playing over 35 minutes a night. He's always dependable. He shows up game night. He's always ready to ball. He doesn't like taking time off, doesn't even like coming out of the game. Night in, night out, he plays through injuries and everything like that. So this is a guy that's a baller that wants to play. Why would he all of a sudden do this? The only thing that makes sense is the fact that he wants to be disruptive because he wants to force his way out of Houston because he recognizes just being professional and towing the company line ain't going to get him out of H-Town. In my opinion, that's what this is about. That's why you've seen some of the things that you've seen from him. He's trying to force his way out of Houston, and ultimately they will have to capitulate in some way, even though he's under contract for the next 2 years, because you can't have this kind of distraction going on throughout the season, particularly with a first-time head coach in Steven Silas at the helm. You're not giving him a fair shot. They know that. They're just trying to get the equitable compensation they're looking for.
Yeah, I'm with you completely. I said on the radio the day this all started, they've already traded him. They just don't know it yet. It's just a question of where he winds up and how it winds up going down. Okay, yes. So let's turn our attention to the league big picture, because we sometimes call Christmas Day the beginning of the NBA season. Well, in this case, it practically is. It just started this week. So let me start in the West. The Lakers are everybody's favorite. So if I put the question to you this way, if it's not going to be the Lakers in the West, who is it going to be?
Or it's going to be the Clippers if it's not going to be the Lakers. And don't get me wrong, it's going to be the Lakers. But the Clippers have the best shot of knocking them off. I understand Dallas, once Porzingis get back, is a formidable threat. Portland can't be ignored. We get all of that. And since Klay Thompson is not in Golden State, we don't really have to worry about them challenging for the chip this year. But I think you have to look at the Clippers not just from the standpoint of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George as players, even with Ty Lue as the new coach. Lou Williams and those boys can still play. Serge Ibaka was a big-time pickup. But let's consider the level of motivation that the Clippers had. They completely wet the bed in Game 7. I'm talking about Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Paul George had 26 and 33 in Games 5 and 6, respectively. Kawhi showed up in those games as well, but they were MIA in a Game 7. A lot of people are looking at Paul George and saying he's got to step up, he's got to play better. Fair enough. But I'm looking at Kawhi Leonard. Yes, you're a 2-time champion with a 2-time NBA Finals MVP. But last year was the first time that you were in the eye of the storm. You were the legitimate face of a franchise. You had your New Balance commercials. You were driving in your car with a king's crown dangling from your car mirror. You had LA signs basically giving the indication a new king has arrived in town. I'm here to take over LeBron's spot and all of that stuff. And then you give up a 3-1 lead and wet the bed in a Game 7. Hell no, we ain't going for that. Kawhi Leonard's got to show up. I believe that he's a great player, one of the top 5 players in the game, so he will show up. And as a result, with his supplementary parts, I think that makes them the most formidable threat to the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm not dismissing the Denver Nuggets because we can't ignore Jamal Murray and the Joker and those boys. Please don't get me wrong. But Kawhi Leonard has got to show up. I think he knows it. I think Paul George knows it. As a matter of fact, he said so. And I consider them the number 1 threat to the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, I'm with you also on not sleeping on Denver, which is why as we look on our screen here, our analytics don't put Denver in the top 4, and that surprises me. Let's go to the East, where it was a very good start, albeit just one game for KD and Kyrie and the Brooklyn Nets. What are your expectations for them this season?
Trip to the finals. Listen, when Kevin Durant, if he's healthy, he's unstoppable. He's one of the greatest offensive forces we've ever seen, and he's incredibly efficient. And Kyrie Irving is just a showstopper. Let's just call it what it is. He is box office. You do walk through the turnstiles to see this brother put on the show. He's that spectacular. But Karis LeVert can ball, and he's going to be maybe the 6th man of the year. You've got Spencer Dinwiddie in that lineup. Joe Harris can shoot the ball. I love the pickup of Landry Shamet from the Clippers last year. He's there now, along with Jeff Green and Taurean Prince and these boys. They've got a deep team. They've got an athletic team. They've got some greyhounds. They've got shooters. The question about them is their defense and obviously their coaching, because this is Steve Nash's first year coaching ever on any level. But we respect him. We know what a savant he is on the basketball court. So the bottom line is you don't expect a drop-off in the coaching ranks when it comes to him. In the end, though, it comes down to the greatness of KD. We can look at the Greek Freak. We can look at the Ben Simmons, the Joel Embiids of the world. We can't ignore Miami. Jason Tatum is the real deal, along with Jaylen Brown. We get all of that. I don't think Boston is deep enough. And I think when you look at those other parts, none of them can shoot like Kevin Durant can, and none of them can stop Kevin Durant. Let's be very, very clear about that. When it's time to get buckets, Kevin Durant can do that against anyone on the planet Earth. And that's what I think will be the difference. And the Brooklyn Nets against the Los Angeles Lakers will be our NBA Finals in July.
That would be a dream scenario, obviously, when you have LeBron against KD and LeBron against Kyrie. That would be all we could ask for, but we obviously have a long way to go to get there. Stephen A., have a great show today. The best to you and everybody on the crew at First Take, and we will see you soon. Enjoy the hoops today.
Merry Christmas. Thank you so much to all of y'all.
The great Stephen A. Smith. And again, they're coming up right...